Once upon a time, there was a king who was very powerful. He had great influence over his village and the neighboring villages. Now, there was this hunter who was looked upon as the poorest in their community. This king had a son named Ebuka, to whom he gave 50 young girls as wives, but the prince did not like any of them. The king was very angry at this and made a law that if any man had a daughter who was finer than the prince's wife and who found favor in his son's eyes, the girl herself and her father and mother should be killed. Now, about this time, the hunter and his wife had a daughter who was very beautiful. The mother thought it was not safe to keep such a fine child, as the prince might fall in love with her, so she told her husband that her daughter ought to be killed and thrown into the bush. The hunter, however, was unwilling and hid his daughter. One day, when both the hunter and his wife were away on their farm, the king's son happened to be hunting near their house and saw a bird perched on the top of the fence around the house. The bird was watching the young lady dance and was so entranced with her beauty that it did not notice the prince coming. The prince shot the bird with his bow and arrow, and it dropped inside the fence. So, the prince sent his servant to pick it up. While the servant was looking for the bird, he came across the beautiful young lady and was so struck with her form that he immediately returned to his master and told him what he had seen. The prince then broke down the fence and found the young girl and fell in love with her at once. He stayed and talked with her for a long time until at last she agreed to become his wife. When he went home, he concealed this from his father. He did not tell the father that he had fallen in love with the beautiful daughter of the hunter. The next morning, he sent for the palace treasurer and got 60 pieces of cloth, 300 rods, and sent them to the hunter. Then, in the early afternoon, he went down to the hunter's house and told him that he wished to marry his daughter. The hunter saw at once that what he had dreaded has finally come to pass, and that his life was in danger. So he told the prince that if the king knew that he had fallen in love with his daughter, he would kill not only himself, the hunter, but also his wife and daughter. The prince replied that he would be killed himself first before he would allow the hunter and his wife and their daughter be killed. Eventually, after much argument, the hunter accepted and agreed to hand his daughter to the prince as wife when the time comes. Then the prince went home and told his mother what he had done. She was in great distress at the thought that she would lose her son, of whom she was very proud of, as she knew that when the king would hear of his son's disobedience, he would kill him. However, the queen, although she knew how angry her husband would be, wanted her son to marry the girl he had fallen in love with. So she went to the hunter and gave him some money, cloth, yam, and palm oil as further dowry for his son's behalf, in order that the hunter would not give his daughter to another man. As time went by, the prince finally told his father that he was going to take Neka, the hunter's daughter, as his wife. On hearing this, the king was very angry and sent word all around the kingdom that all people should come on a certain day to the palace courtyard to hear the case at hand. When the appointed day came, the courtyard was filled with people, and the royal seat belonging to the king and queen were placed in the middle of the palace courtyard. When the king and the queen arrived, all the people stood up and greeted them. They then sat down on their seats. The king then told his attendant to bring the girl Neka before him. When she arrived, the king was quite astonished at her beauty. He then told the people that he had sent for them to tell them that he was angry with his son for disobeying him and taking Neka as his wife without his knowledge. But now that he has seen the girl himself and he had acknowledged that she was very beautiful and that his son has made a good choice, he would therefore forgive his son. When the people saw the girl, they agreed that she was indeed very beautiful and quite worthy of being the prince's wife. They went ahead and begged the king to cancel the law he had made altogether, and the king agreed. And as the law had been made under the Igbo traditional law, he went ahead and sent for his 8 chief priests and told them that the order has been cancelled throughout his kingdom, and that for the future, no one will be killed who has a daughter more beautiful than the prince's wife, and gave the chief priests palm wine and money to remove the law. Then he declared that the hunter's daughter Neka should marry his son Ibuka, and he made them marry the same day. A great feast was thrown for the village, which lasted for 3 days. And the king killed 5 cows and gave all the people plenty of food and placed many pots of palm wine in the streets for the people to drink as they liked. The women brought in traditional dances and made so many plays in the royal compound. And there was singing and dancing that kept up all day and night throughout the whole time. The prince and his companion also joined the villagers to marry in the royal palace square. When the feast was over, the king gave a large portion of land to the hunter and many workers to work on his farm. The prince also built a big house for his father-in-law and gave him servants to assist him at home. So the hunter became one of the richest men in the kingdom. The prince and his wife lived happily ever after for good many years until the king died. Then the prince was crowned the king and he ruled the kingdom in his father's place. Moral of the story: always have pretty daughters, as no matter how poor they may be, there is always a chance that a king's son or a wealthy man may fall in love with them, and they may thus become members of the royal house and obtain much wealth. Thank you for watching Bonfire Stories. Please don't forget to like, follow and subscribe, and turn on your post notification bell